welcome to the Animation Weekly Recap. You are watching this on November 22nd, so happy almost Thanksgiving.
I'm going to say this is episode 9. I'm pretty good about that.
I think it is.
Yeah.
And wow, has it been a whirlwind.
It's starting to get cold outside.
The crisp is in the air. The leaves are beginning to fall.
Leaves are falling.
The falls are leaving.
They are leaving. And so, to sum up our show here, this is the world's only animation recap on YouTube.
This is true.
We're
weekly.
a father-daughter weekly.
Yeah.
We do it weekly. Father-daughter team. We both are part of Pencilish Animation Studios.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the CEO and founder. 35 years experience in animation.
I'm the CFO, and
It's not true, any of you shareholders.
I do the finances.
We don't want that. Nope.
Anyways, yeah, about 3 years in the biz, and it's been a fun 3 years. Loving it.
Now, you're obviously not an artist. I don't know if they know that, obviously, but I do. You're on the more the communication side of the business.
I would consider myself like artist adjacent.
Artist adjacent. How does that work?
I do my own side biz.
Oh, that's true. You
More
do have...
like fonts.
That's what computers do. They
No,
do fonts.
like I
hand
write.
lettering. Yeah.
Yes.
That's something you do. Yes.
Artist adjacent.
Yeah. And now, but what my question is for the viewers that are watching that are probably artists themselves, has it been interesting working with artists? Because you were very involved with a lot of our artists.
It's very interesting. It was really hard initially. I'm very everything I've ever done, I'm very business. That was my major. That's all I've worked for. So I'm used to a lot of professional settings, and especially when I came in, we didn't even have a handbook or stuff. So I was really shocked, and the shock has worn off. Yeah. And now I'm I enjoy it. People are just more laid back. I was wait, we're all working 9 to 5.
It's a different mentality.
Everybody works their own hours. They just get the work done.
Right.
And so I'm very precise, and it was very shocking initially. But it has worn off.
Working with artists was shocking at first, yes.
Well, it's different. It's I literally, majored in communication. All I know is how to be professional and communicative.
Yeah. And
it was I'm actually I'm not responding to your emails because I worked throughout the night and I'm sleeping during the day.
Yeah. Right.
And I'm wait, what?
Yeah.
So that was definitely interesting, but then I got used to it, and now it's they respond when they respond. Yeah. I'm sure they're booked and busy.
Right. And if you need to get to them, you found ways to get to them.
Oh, I found ways. I'm just kidding.
Well, so that might segue into our first topic.
Well, actually, just an overall briefing about today.
Okay.
Grab your tissues.
Uh-oh.
They are all pretty emotional articles, and I was literally crying reading the second one.
Wow.
I am a crier, so that will be coming today. This one had chills. So I'll just get into it.
Yeah.
Article 1, Keeping Artistic Hope Alive. An industry veteran speaks to the state of LA's animation biz and the importance of personal art.
Okay.
So I think the only way to do this is to read it.
This was on Cartoon Brew, I think.
Yeah, Animation Magazine.
Animation, yeah.
I think I'm just going to read it.
Okay. Oh, the whole thing?
Yeah. It's not that long. It's not that long.
Don't read the whole thing. Can you skim?
Well, no, because it's that's the whole point.
Who's it by? Say who is it by in case anybody knows the person.
It's by Nick Gregory. Is a background painter, designer, colorist, style, and concept artist in Los Angeles animation. He's worked for Disney, Cartoon Network, Think Well, etc.
You kind of have a challenge sometimes reading the titles. So
I know, but I read this ahead of time, trying to prep my brain to reread. Let me give it a go.
Okay.
Hey, now I'm gonna mess it up. Never stop making art. I will never stop being a creative, and neither should you, regardless of whether you go back to doing it with studios or on your own dime and in your own time. If you and your friends still love animation, regardless of what is happening in this town, then take it back. I dare you. It now belongs to you. Chills.
Oh, that was a good ending. Yeah. Okay. So to summarize, in case you maybe didn't hear all that because we fast forwarded,
No,
hopefully
don't
you heard that
fast
last
forward.
part. Do that, please. Hopefully you heard that last part, which is so basically he's saying, I've been in the industry a long time, and I kind of worked my way up, only to have now the industry basically failing him. The corporate companies that own all the IPs and the studios, that they're basically struggling right now, and so therefore laying people off, canceling shows, all the stuff that we know is happening in the industry. And he's saying, bring it back to what you really loved about animation originally, which was drawing and creating and your own characters and things like that. And that's where the true, I mean, you tell me if this is a good summary to the end here. That's where your true love and heart should be, and maybe that'll pay off. I think he's at least hinting this.
That's not really.
That'll
That's
pay
not
off
really how it
in
was
the long
really.
run.
No.
Well, I added
No, it
that
even
part.
talks about doing it on your own time and on your own
No,
dime.
no, but then creating your own thing could be
No,
what pays
it's
off.
not.
I'm
what-
adding that.
Okay, that's not at all what he's saying in this article. All he's saying is that they can't take away the art from you. So if you still love to be creative and you still want to animate, even if you can't be working at a studio, and he talks about like going maybe to get a job that's not even art related,
Right.
that still do what you love. Like, bottom line, they may take away the jobs from you, but they can't take away your creativity and your ability to create.
Okay. Got it. Right. I agree with that.
It's a beautiful article, and
It
I
is.
wish you would have let me read the whole thing because there was literally 3 more paragraphs, and it's really well written.
3 more paragraphs.
4, but it was really.
Gosh.
Oh my gosh!
All right.
How dare we read when we talk about articles on here?
No, but that's what we're doing. We're summarizing articles and then talking about them. So
Well, this one didn't deserve a summary.
anyway, I agree with you. It is a beautiful sentiment, and honestly, what he's basically trying to do is say,
I
look,
don't think you know. 'Cause
well,
it's
all
clear
these
you didn't read
corporations,
it.
I did too. Well, all the corporations and the money side of this business is failing us right now.
Right.
We got to remember what we loved about it, and if we do that and
That's when-
pursue it on our own, doesn't matter what we do during the day. If we have to work it as a barista at a coffee shop or something like that,
Right.
And I do think it's a hopeful message. There's still plenty of people that are going to hear that and go, "Oh, I can't." Basically, what they just heard was, "I can't make it in this industry at least right now." And therefore, I have to go find other work that I'm not good at or not as well trained at. It doesn't pay as well, probably. So, but I do agree with the sentiment of do your own personal projects. Don't stop being creative.
Yeah, don't stop
make your
doing
own
what
thing.
you love.
Right.
We're all
And making but here's where I add to it. Making your own thing could be the thing that actually pays you in the future.
That's so true.
Because
Who's
you did
that
it
guy
from the
that
heart.
you interviewed that made his own film, like pretty much by himself?
Pretty much everybody on the podcast. No, yeah, that's Usman Ruiz in Pakistan, who created a whole feature film based on, and it took him about 10 years to do it, and he had a staff and stuff.
Which is crazy because
got
he looks
funding.
15.
Yeah, he's still very young. Yeah, he's 33, I think, and he started at
Sorry.
22, I guess. Whatever.
Yeah.
What math?
23.
So,
If he's
yeah.
33, he started at 23.
At 23, that's what I meant to say.
Good job. You can do this.
Yeah. And,
Good thing you're not the CFO.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So that is a really great message.
You guys should go read it.
In the comments, tell us, what do you think about the industry and the hopefulness or bleakness of the industry right now? And kind of how would you deal with it? Or how are you dealing with it? We'd love to hear.
Yeah. Agreed. This is an article I've been really wanting to get to. This is so sad and so sweet at the same time.
Oh.
So this is from Animation World Network. So, of love, loss, and music, how Scot Stafford's daughter influenced Ultraman Rising Score. So have you heard about this?
Ultraman Rising's
Rising
score.
Score.
Yes. Got it.
The Emmy Award-winning composer shares for the first time how his daughter's serious accident in the middle of production brought him even closer to his role as a parent while influencing his work writing music for a film with so many uncomfortable parallels about trying and sometimes failing to protect one's family.
Oof. Wow.
Yeah, so from what I understand...
So wait, he's the composer or he's the producer?
He's the composer.
Okay.
So...
And this was on Netflix, by the way. It's on Netflix right now.
Yes.
It's a feature film. Go ahead.
Yes. So from what I understand, the film like kind of talks a lot about like losing somebody and trying to protect family and failing, like it says, but it kind of all happened while his I think like 16-year-old daughter or something got into like a really bad car accident.
Ooh.
And so it says, let me make sure I get to the part so you don't cut me off. This was an interesting part. So, sitting in the interview room with Stafford at Lucas Industrial Light and Magic Studio where it was produced, I shared with him my own E to E flat. Oh, let me actually go back because that was important. So, at the beginning of the story, Ken and his family survive the Cashew attack between Ken's father. Ultraman saves them, explains the film's composer, Scot Stafford. Meanwhile, Onda is in that same apartment and he loses his family. The difference between their two musical themes is one note moved by the shortest possible distance. It's an E going down to a tiny bit to an E flat, and that changes everything. So he's talking to him about his own E to E flat, life-altering moment, losing his first child. This is the interviewer. And Scott says, because you shared that with me, I'm going to give you an exclusive, and I will only talk about this once. He says, I was about 3/4 of the way through scoring the entire feature. My then 15-year-old daughter was in a very, very serious accident, was hospitalized for about 3 months, and had 4 brain surgeries.
Oh, wow.
I, my wife, and the whole family were going through absolute hell, and I still had to compose. So when I was looking at those scenes, I knew what was at stake, and it absolutely informed everything I created in those scenes. So it talks kind of about when the shift was and how it kind of happened, but so he talks about the concept where like he brought in a lot of the different like parallels, I guess. Says tackles father-son reconciliation, parental loss for human.
Reconciliation?
Oh, really? Is that what that is?
Yeah.
I was wondering.
Still being a dad never ends.
And the heartbreaking truth that even though we love our children more than life itself, that love isn't always powerful enough to protect them. When Stafford's daughter Amelia was seriously injured in her e-bike accident, that message hit him harder than ever before. And then this is Stafford talking. That concept is not quite something I can really talk about without completely falling apart. But yeah, I was right there. I was so present for any moment in that film where parenting was depicted so honestly and so accurately and so emotionally. Wow. Even the scenes where Emmy is stomping around in her own poop, I loved. I still didn't know how Shannon did it. How he was... Oh, this was someone talking about him. Sorry.
Shannon Tyndall is the director.
Oh, okay. I still didn't know how Shannon did it. Oh, because I'm getting... Okay, sorry. How he was able to create, in his own words, this Kramer versus Kramer family drama against the backdrop of this massive international superhero action movie. Any moment that was family focused, I was ready, I was game.
That's interesting.
I know. So sad. So it goes on to say that, like, this is people talking about Scott pretty much and how they were going to Singapore to finish up, like, they were in the middle of it. They got a text that she's been in a really bad accident. I'll tell you more later. And they were just like, I'm here for you, pretty much. And it says, when Scott was able to tell me what happened, he was still insistent on delivering the music for the film. And he adds, that blew me away. But I'm not surprised because Scott is who he is. And it's an incredible score. I will never forget.
Wow. That's a great story.
Yeah, chills.
It's interesting, though, that what makes me think of is how many times, I'm directing a feature film right now, and Light of the World, and all of us still have life going on, right? And yet we have these hard deadlines that we're trying to hit, and we have the whole production planned out, and if we hit all these deadlines, we'll get it done by this date. And if we don't get it done by that date, we're going to incur all these costs because now the score is going to be behind and we can't go to Budapest to record that score, and that's a locked date.
Right.
Like, all this is sort of built up, and it's like a very pressure situation. But we're also all parents, basically. We all have kids. We're all
Right.
my age or younger, most of us, and like my co-director had major family events. Like
Yeah, he did.
he lost his father died during our production so far, and had lots of family stuff that happened with his son and other things that I won't get into. But honestly, it was like, okay, no, you have to leave. Go to that funeral for a few days, and that kind of stuff is real. I mean, Lion King almost didn't get done because like the LA riots happened right during that time, and they had to take work home, and they couldn't come to the studio and work from home in their garages and kitchens. That stuff happens. Real life happens, and it's really hard to see
let
that.
me ask you this: when like you look back on films you've worked on, can you like depict things like, oh, during this film, like probably right when I was in production this time, like this is how was happening in my life then?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, like, and there's the good side of that too. Like, I remember, when you were born, and that was during, right before Milan, if I remember
It
right.
was during Milan.
During Milan, yes, you were our Milan baby, and each one of you, there was a film I was working on, all four of you girls, that came out, or I was working on while you were being born, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that was really hard, and that's also one of the reasons, like, I barely know your birthday or your middle name because
because you were MIA.
yeah, basically.
Okay.
So yeah, you heard it here.
Yeah.
Worst dad ever.
You do okay.
I've learned your middle name, and I've learned your birth date. I won't recite them right now, but I know them.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Anyways, well, it is kind of true. I have noticed throughout like everything, you're always like, oh yeah, I was on Lion King then. Like you're always like naming. Is that like how you timeline things?
Honestly, yeah. Everybody at the studio was the same way. It wasn't just me. We all kind of like, we were so in the trenches, especially during the 90s and 2000s on those films that, and oftentimes in pretty tough, overtime, that, yeah, you remembered, the film you were working on.
Wow. Well, this looks like a really sweet film. The rest of the article it's so sweet. But I guess something that I thought was really cool about that is because music to me is like so interesting. I think it's like how they can compose like a film like that, like it's beautiful, and how they can like say what everybody's thinking without the words.
Yeah.
I think that's so cool. Or like they can portray the emotions with music. And so it seems like she's okay, by the way. I should have updated.
Oh, good.
They ended with like, she's all right. Sorry, this was literally what brought me to tears. They called Scott to tell him he was nominated for his first Emmy for composing in this. And he was like crying. He was so happy. And then he was like, do you want to talk to Amelia? And it was her first time like talking. She had just started talking, and then he also got the Emmy.
Wow.
At the same time. So they were all like, what?
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So chills.
Yeah, and I'm sure the whole studio, or at least that upper echelon of Shannon and the producers that worked with him closely, were there as were a part of that.
Yeah.
You do kind of get into everybody's lives when you're working that closely together.
And that's kind of what it seems like. A lot of people were talking on it about how like they were all like really close to him and all of that. Anyways, it just seems it was a beautiful story, and it's one to not miss. It is so well written, and I know I say this often, but this is when I'm actually gonna go watch this film.
Good.
Like this, you tell me a story like this, I'm in.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to watch it with you. I've seen parts of it. I haven't seen the whole thing. It's actually based on a sort of a Japanese superhero that from back when I was young, honestly, and they've kind of brought it back and made this new version of him, for the movies.
Yeah.
And so, but it's really well done. Everything I've heard about it, it's a good movie.
Yeah, just the closing. Whether a parent, uncle, aunt, brother, or sister, everyone on the Ultraman crew agreed that the experience of working on this film was profound.
Wow.
So, holding back, but
well,
it's really
and Shannon,
beautiful.
the director, is an amazing guy. He's done a lot in the industry. So.
Okay, well, let's go on to the next one.
You really are crying.
I know. I can't help it.
Oh, that's so
Okay.
cute. Is she adorable or what? Come on, everybody. Put it in the comments. What do you got here? This is fun.
I know. Okay, so this is just like a sweet testament.
Oh.
So let me scroll to the top. Animator Spotlight. Fred Moore.
Oh, at Cartoon Brew.
Yeah, I guess I didn't know that they do this, but they do an Animator Spotlight. So it kind of talks about the 9 old men and a name Walt Disney gave to his core animators in the 1950s were undeniably brilliant. Still, I've always felt that the artists who defined Disney's style, who were no longer at the studio when Walt coined the title, among them Art Babbitt, Bill Tytla, and Norm Ferguson, don't get the attention they deserve. And so much of what we think of as a Disney style goes back to the work of Fred Moore. Do you know who that is?
I sure do.
1911 through 1952, usually called Freddie around the studio. So it kind of goes on to say that he passed away from a car accident at like 42.
Yeah, very sad.
And that he was huge to the studio, and it's kind of crazy to say. Like, he probably could have been in a 9 Old Men.
Oh, yeah, and he should have been. I can tell you a little tea on that if you want.
Okay.
It kind of hints at it here. So Freddie Moore was a natural at animation. He.
Why are you talking like that?
I'm telling the story. I'm telling everybody. I want to get excited about Freddie Moore because I'm a big fan. I have a few of my sculptures over here are of Freddie Moore characters up over here.
The dwarfs.
Yeah, he worked on Snow White, and so he's one of the very first animators at the very early days of the studio. Not the first. Iwerks was that, but a little bit later was when they were trying to get into more realistic animation and things like that. And their start was Snow White, and he was perfect for the dwarfs. He animated Doc and
he did a whole scene where he did
Grumpy.
all of them.
Yeah. He was really the guy on Snow White for the dwarfs, and so he was on the track of becoming, and he was a natural too. I don't even think he went to art school. I think he's like pretty self-taught.
He did not. He came in at 1930 at just 18 years old and had little formal training, but his peers were impressed by his natural talent.
He did. So they always said he was a natural. He couldn't do an ugly drawing. They always said his drawings were always charming and really appealing. And that word appealing is kind of, it always goes back to Freddie. Disney would say, appeal in their design was a big part of how they would make, their designs really interesting. And that was naturally Freddie. And same with his poses. And so he became the Mickey guy. He would animate, and he helped Mickey evolve into Fantasia when it became Mickey, kind of pretty much the Mickey we know now. And anyway, he trained a lot of the 9 Old Men. So he's kind of predates them. They came in, they were his assistant. I think it was Ollie Johnston. It was either Frank or Ollie. One of the two were his assistant. Yeah. And so they were all kind of junior to him. He trained them. They ended up surpassing him. And that was very sad because he kind of got stuck into just the very cartoony stuff, the Mickey, the Donald, Goofy stuff. And as the studio kind of progressed away from that into more and more realistic, like Bambi, style animation, he kind of couldn't quite pull that off. At the other side of it, it was very sad. He was an alcoholic, and he started to really. Was that his accident? Yes, and so his accident was.
Was he drunk driving?
Yeah, it was drunk driving. And so they say that's why he died. He was also known to be a very fast animator, so he would drink half the day at lunch and stuff, and then kind of come to around 2 to 4 and do a day's worth of work in only a few hours. And so he could.
Wow, this article really failed to mention that.
Well, it is tea, and nobody wants to talk about the dark side of anybody that they're homaging, honestly.
That they're investor spotlighting.
Yeah, exactly. That they're spotlighting. Wow. They're talking about the good stuff. They're talking about how amazing, and he was amazing. The sad part is that he did not, even before he died at an early age, he had been sort of surpassed by a lot of the people he trained.
Well, it does say this about his early stage. His first job was on the 3 Little Pigs. Mm-hmm. And it says, earlier cartoon characters often moved like they were made of rubber, a style that I also... Okay, don't need that. While attempts at a while attempts at realism came off as stiff and jerky. What Moore managed to do was maintain his character's central volume while applying squash and stretch, making his creation soft and fleshy instead of rubbery. In Moore's hands, the pigs seemed tangible and dimensional, while sacrificing any cartoon exaggeration. Walt Disney was highly pleased with his work and declared, "At last, we have achieved true personality in a whole picture."
Yeah. Yeah. No, he was, and still is. Like, people still look to it. Glenn Keane was very influenced by Freddie Moore in his drawings, and you could see that in Glenn's early work. Is that especially like the giant in Mickey's Christmas Carol? It's very much inspired and looks like a Freddie Moore character, honestly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, this is a really sweet article. It has a lot of shots that he worked on, and it kind of goes into details about that. It also talks about, how he was like the one person to draw all of the dwarves in that one scene, and how much. Oh, it actually talks about appeal.
Yeah. That was a term that I don't know if he coined
Appeal
it.
is a word that comes up the most when talking about Moore's style. Mm-hmm. And it's true that the doughy squishiness of his work makes it just plain fun to look at, but his incredible skill at character animation might be even more impressive.
Yeah. So my mentor, Mark Henn, when I was at Disney, he was very also kind of attracted to Freddie Moore. A lot of that generation of the, say, 70s, 80s, 90s, that were the people that trained me. And that was the Glenn Keanes, the Mark Henns, the Andreas Dejas.
So was it kind of like 9 Old Men, then the Glenn Keane, Mark Henn, then you, Tony, crew?
Yeah. So like in a way, I'm like, and Mark was more influenced by Frank Thomas and actually worked with Ollie and Frank. So the people, the 9 Old Men, as they were leaving, they trained the second generation. I'm the third. So I was trained by the people that got trained by the 9 Old Men. So did they train
Glenn Keane too?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Eric Larson, who was one of the 9 Old Men, he was still there at the studio. And about 3 or 4 of them were still at the studio when the next group came in, which is, like I said, the Glenn Keanes and the a little bit later, slightly later, Mark Henn, but like Ron Clements and John Musker, who directed Little Mermaid and things like that. So yeah, there was sort of this generational thing. I think we kind of lost that at Disney. It started becoming there was such a rush because of Lion King, honestly, when it made so much money. They grew so big. I think we kind of lost that sort of, I'm third generation, I'm fourth generation. You know what I mean? Like, they just all came in.
Well, there's still generations.
And you could say there's
just
still
a larger generation.
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah, but I think the training from the 9 Old Men kind of gets watered down and lost a little bit.
But it probably always will.
Yeah.
That's
Fortunately,
just kind of how it works.
We have art books, and Frank and Ollie did books, and I've done some books.
That's true.
And so it's being passed down.
Oh, you've done books. Thank God.
Well, I have.
Thank God. You as the first generation made a book.
I'm not first. I'm third.
I know. That's why I'm
but
saying
thank goodness I made that book.
Thank God you made a watered down
book. Hello. It was the first book on character design ever. So.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, you've just tuned into the first Animation Weekly recap there is ever.
What?
Well, that's what you said in the beginning.
No, I said it was the 9th. What are you saying?
No. Like you were saying, we're the only people that do that.
That's right. We're original.
The first.
Hope you guys enjoyed this.
Really sweet episode today. I
It
just
was
felt like
a lot of reading.
we couldn't really do.
But it was really good.
Pardon?
Huh? What?
Are you talking about my reading again?
No, I just said there was a lot of reading, and it's true. But some people like that. They want to be read to.
Well, we are supposed to tell what's in the article.
We are.
Anywho, it was a really sweet day. We didn't really have the jokes today because we really didn't need them. These articles really spoke for themselves, and they were too sentimental to overlap it.
Yeah. And I could have talked about Freddie Moore all day. He's amazing.
Well, you really threw that, like, drinking, and that threw me for a whirlwind.
Yeah. There's some...
I kind of idolized him after this article.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, maybe don't idol.
He's just real. That's all. Unfortunately, yeah. And they do say that a lot of it was that, and this part I don't know if it's true or not, but the rumor is that a lot of that drinking happened because he felt like he was being left behind and things like that.
Oh, stop.
At the studio.
No, actually, that's really
He
gonna
ended up
make me
leaving
sad.
Disney and going to work on Chili Willy or Andy Panda and stuff like that over at
So it wasn't at Disney when
Walter
he passed.
Lance. I think he got let go, honestly. I think
Okay, this story's getting like so much worse.
it got sad.
I
at
feel
the
like you
end.
shouldn't have said any of that. You literally just changed my whole opinion.
Well,
This is really sad.
he had a problem.
This is really sad.
I know.
Anyways.
Thanks for joining us.
Oh my gosh.
If you want more
I'm gonna
tea
cry
on other
again.
animators, maybe my brother, just let us know in the comments.
Oh yeah, we have tea to be spilled.
Get into that.
Oh my gosh, that'd be all day. We'd be here for hours.
But don't ask about me.
No. No tea to be spilled.
No.
No.
Wholesome life. Thank you guys.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
If you like what you just saw, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel, Pencilish Studios.